Can your HOA fine you without warning? Many homeowners assume the answer is no, but the truth is more complicated. In some communities, homeowners receive multiple notices before a fine is imposed. In others, a fine may appear surprisingly fast. The real answer depends on your governing documents, state law, and whether your HOA followed the required process. Today, we'll explain when an HOA can fine you, what notice requirements usually exist, and what to do if you receive a violation letter. One of the biggest HOA myths is that every homeowner gets 3 warnings before a fine. That's usually not true. Another myth is that an HOA can issue fines whenever it wants. That's often wrong too. Most associations must follow a specific enforcement process before penalties can be imposed. The details vary from community to community, but due process is generally required. HOA enforcement authority typically comes from 3 places. First, state law. Many states establish minimum notice and hearing requirements before fines can be imposed. Second, the association's governing documents. These are often called CC and Rs, declarations or covenants. Third, the HOA's rules and regulations. Together, these documents determine how violations are handled and what procedures the board must follow. The board cannot simply invent a process on the spot. In many associations, the process follows a predictable sequence. A violation is observed. The homeowner may receive a courtesy notice or reminder. If the issue isn't corrected, a formal violation notice may follow. The homeowner is often given time to cure the problem or respond. Many states and governing documents also require an opportunity for a hearing before penalties are imposed. Only after those steps are completed may a fine be approved. The exact timeline varies, but some form of notice is usually part of the process. This is where homeowners often get confused. Not every violation follows the same timeline. For example, trash cans left out for one day might trigger a warning, but repeated violations could move directly into enforcement. Parking violations can be treated differently because they're easier to document and may affect safety or access. Architectural violations may trigger separate review procedures entirely. The key point is that notice requirements depend on the governing documents and applicable law, not on a universal standard. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, no. Many homeowners assume a courtesy warning is legally required. In reality, the required step is often notice of the violation itself, not necessarily a friendly reminder beforehand. If governing documents and state law only require formal notice and an opportunity to be heard, an HOA may not be obligated to issue multiple warnings first. That's why it's important to understand the difference between a courtesy notice and a legally required notice. They're not always the same thing. Even when a violation exists, the HOA still needs to follow its required process. An HOA fine may be challenged if proper procedures weren't followed. Problems can include no notice given, no opportunity to respond, selective enforcement, fines not authorized by governing documents, or rules applied inconsistently between homeowners. Any of these situations can create disputes. Skipping required steps can also create legal exposure for the association, even when the underlying violation is real. If you receive a violation notice, don't ignore it. Read the notice carefully. Review the cited rule. Check all deadlines. Look at your governing documents. If a hearing is offered, consider attending and presenting your side of the situation. Many disputes are resolved simply because homeowners and boards communicate early, rather than waiting for the issue to escalate. Documentation matters. Keep copies of notices, emails, photographs, and any correspondence related to the violation. Even if you believe the fine is unjustified, document everything before responding. So, can your HOA fine you without warning? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes the answer is no. What matters is whether the HOA followed the process required by state law and the community's governing documents. The important question isn't whether you received a warning, it's whether the association provided the notice and procedures that were actually required. Understanding that difference can help homeowners protect their rights and help boards enforce rules fairly and consistently. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to Community Living for practical HOA education without the drama. And check out our videos on special assessments, reserve funds, and why HOA fees keep going up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.